Mangwanani Malelepo Vukenjani Keklas Vanave Africa. Welcome to Africa Good Morning, your portal into Africa's potent stories. Today's broadcast highlights key moments shaping the continent. We begin in Malawi, where President Lazarus Chakwera concedes defeat to his predecessor Peter Mutharika after a fiercely contested election. From New York, African leaders call for fairer trade and economic autonomy during the 80th United Nations General Assembly. In health, a landmark deal slashes the cost of breakthrough HIV prevention injection Lenacapavir for low-income nations. In Namibia, more than 80 buffaloes drowned in the Chobe River after a lion chase. We also delve into the South Africa report with Arrie Hougaard. Watch Africa Good Morning on DSTV 285, GoTV 25, oneup2.com, NTV Africa, and Network Media Hub on YouTube. My name is Ashwin Berry. This is Africa Good Morning. Top stories shortly.
Tourism is a TV show that explores various touristic destinations, providing viewers with in-depth coverage of locations, events, and experiences. The show presents detailed insights into destinations, cultural highlights, and travel tips to engage both local and international audiences.
Missed the latest episode of Tourismus? Don't worry, Echo has you covered. Catch every travel adventure, insider industry news, and exciting destinations from Tourismus anytime, anywhere. Visit www.oneup2.com and click on Echo to relive the journeys, rewind the adventures, replay the stories. Tourismus, where adventure meets prime time.
Tourismus ist eine Fernsehsendung, die verschiedene Reiseziele vorstellt und den Zuschauerinnen und Zuschauern umfassende Einblicke in Orte, Veranstaltungen und Erlebnisse bietet. Die Sendung liefert detaillierte Informationen zu Zielen, kulturellen Höhepunkten und Reisetipps, um sowohl lokale als auch internationale Zuschauerinnen und Zuschauer anzusprechen.
Let's get into the top stories on Africa Good Morning. Malawi has witnessed a remarkable political reversal as 85-year-old Peter Mutharika, a former professor of law and ex-president, has been declared the winner of last week's election with 57% of the vote. He defeated incumbent President Lazarus Chakwera, 70, who managed 33%. Mutharika, who previously served as president from 2014 until his defeat in 2020, now returns to power amid an economic storm defined by soaring inflation, scarce fuel, and severe foreign currency shortages. The Electoral Commission used its full 8-day mandate to validate results, citing the need to carefully investigate complaints and prevent a repeat of the 2019 annulled election. This was the fourth contest between the two men, cementing their rivalry as one of Malawi's fiercest political battles. Chakwera conceded with grace, phoning Mutharika to congratulate him and later addressing the nation. Though he admitted concerns about irregularities, he emphasized that the outcome reflected the people's will for change. Celebrations erupted in Lilongwe as Mutharika supporters filled the streets chanting Adadi and dancing to blaring music. For many, the result was as much a rejection of Chakwera's troubled governance as it was a call for Mutharika's return. Here is Chakwera's message as he conceded.
2 nights ago, the Malawi Electoral Commission announced the validated results of the presidential election from 11 councils, bringing their total to 24, with only the results of 12 councils remaining. From those official results, it was clear that my main rival, His Excellency Professor Arthur Peter Mutharika of the Democratic Progressive Party, had already secured an insurmountable lead and is the presumptive winner of the presidential election. For this reason, a moment ago, I called Professor Mutharika directly to congratulate him on his historic victory and to wish him well in his upcoming tenure as the 7th President of the Republic of Malawi. I have done this because I accept the results of the presidential election that the Malawi Electoral Commission has already validated and released, just as I will accept the final result that the Commission is scheduled to announce at 2 p.m. I know that to many of you who supported my campaign for re-election, this outcome is disappointing. But I want you to know that I will forever be grateful for your trust in me and for your support of my candidates. I also know that to the majority of you who voted, this outcome is a reflection of your collective will to have a change of government. And so it is only right that I concede defeat out of respect for your will as citizens and out of respect for the Constitution.
At the 80th United Nations General Assembly, African leaders emphasized economic self-determination, challenging global trade practices. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa criticized trade being used as a weapon against nations, highlighting the destabilizing impact of geopolitical shocks and volatile policies. He urged stronger links between trade and development while pointing to the African Continental Free Trade Area as a cornerstone of cooperation. Nigeria's President Bola Tinubu called for control over mineral resources, ending the cycle of exporting raw materials while importing finished products. He urged the nations to collectively manage cobalt, lithium, and rare earths. Liberia's President Joseph Boakai declared his UN Security Council seat belonged to Africa as a whole. Ramaphosa also stressed Africa's burden from climate change, despite contributing least to it, and condemned Israel's actions in Gaza as genocide. He highlighted unilateral trade practices, harm, and the importance of redoubling efforts for fair development. U.S. tariffs recently targeted South African exports, reflecting tensions after Pretoria failed to secure a deal before Washington's deadline. Moving on. A landmark deal will make the HIV prevention drug Lenacapavir available in more than 100 low-income countries at drastically reduced prices, currently costing $28,000 annually. The new agreement lowers the price to just $40 per year, with rollout set for 2027. Lenacapavir, injectable, taken twice yearly, prevents the virus from replicating within cells and has been backed by the World Health Organization. Trials showed strong success, with the U.S. Food and Drug Administration and European Commission approving it earlier this year. The Clinton Health Access Initiative, Gates Foundation, and WITS RHI helped broker the deal. Experts say the drug could transform prevention for vulnerable groups such as adolescent girls and young women, LGBT people, sex workers, and drug users. Professor Saik Mulik of WITS RHI noted its potential to overcome barriers of daily pill-based PrEP, which is less accessible and stigmatized. With over 40 million people living with HIV worldwide, expanded access could prevent millions of infections, especially in countries like South Africa, where almost 8 million people live with the virus. Good news indeed. Now, not so good news. More than 80 buffaloes drowned in the Chobe River after being chased by lions from Botswana into Namibia. The country's Environment and Tourism Ministry reported the animals fell from a cliff into the river while fleeing predators. Such incidents have occurred before, with one of the worst cases recorded in 2018 when around 400 buffaloes died under similar circumstances. An official from Namibia's Kabulabula Conservancy explained that whenever buffaloes are chased in Chobe National Park, they often attempt to cross into Namibia, leading to trampling as well as drowning. Ministry spokesperson Deshipanda Hamunyela confirmed the herd came from Botswana, though it was unclear whether they originated directly from Chobe National Park. She added that the carcasses would be distributed to local communities in the surrounding areas. The Chobe River, which runs along the Botswana-Namibia border, is known for large wildlife populations, including elephants, giraffes, and buffaloes. The tragedy highlights recurring dangers challenges faced by herds under predator pressure in this important transboundary conservation area. Those have been our top stories on Africa Good Morning. Shortly, Arrie Hougaard will join us to deliver the South Africa report, but prior to that, it's the weather.
In current business in South Africa, it is still trade and imports and exports that's in the news. South Africa strengthening ties with other countries beside the USA. There's obviously still negotiations with President Ramaphosa being there at United Nations meetings, not meeting with President Trump, but meeting with other officials. But at the moment, there's agreements that were strengthened with the United Kingdom and India. A few months ago, there was a mutual recognition arrangement that was done via SARS. That was with India and also with United Kingdom. That's been reaffirmed by SARS and strengthened. So that will help for India and for United Kingdom for imports to South Africa to have faster custom clearances, also reduced inspections, and then also there's a lower administration burden. And it is the United Kingdom and India that's good partners for South Africa. There's not a big trade deficit between the two countries in both cases. For United Kingdom, it is $8 billion US dollars. That's the exports to the United Kingdom, and imports to South Africa $6 billion US dollars. And then for India, it's more or less the same. It is 8 billion that is imported and 8 billion dollars that is exported. So there's not a big trade deficit. That's been the frustration for President Trump. There's a big trade deficit between South Africa and the USA because US exports is $9 billion dollars to South Africa, but imports from South Africa into the United States is 17 billion. Let's say exports from South Africa into the USA is 17 billion. That is US dollars. So there's a big trade deficit, and that is part of the 30% tariffs that's been hiked, or the reason for that, according to President Trump. So it is President Ramaphosa that's at the US General Assembly, and there might be talks there will be talks with the private sector. The Minister of Trade and Industry, Mr. Parks Tau, is also there with President Ramaphosa. Then also related to generating electricity and power, there's a big initiative in the Karoo, close to Beaufort West, and that is for a wind farm. It's called the Carissa Wind Farm. It will be 154 turbines that will be put up. It's massive structures. It's 280 meters high. To put it into context, the Eiffel Tower is 330 meters high, so it's very high structures, and it will create 1,500 jobs, and also it will take 24 months to complete. That's a cost of 30 billion South African rand. So lots of money being put into the economy there, but it will be clean green power, and the capacity for generation is 1,000 megawatts. So that's a good development for Beaufort West. And also to conclude our current news, it is also regarding trade with China. There's China that said they want deeper trade with South Africa, and they're making it easier for South African car manufacturers to export to China, and they plan to remove tariffs on that, and that is obviously to get into that market that South Africa do have at the moment with the United States. So two-way flow value between South Africa and China is quite high. It's 53.9 billion US dollars, so quite a big value of vehicles moving across. Cars that was imported to South Africa from China, that was 11,000 in total in 2019, but in 2024 it's already close to 40,000 vehicles that's imported from China to South Africa. Hopefully South Africa can also export now to China quite a few volumes. So 200 companies also from China have invested about 11 billion US dollars in South Africa, so there's big investment also coming in from China into South Africa. So that is current news at the moment.
All right, Arrie, now it's time for us to get into the sports, and there's a lot going on. Springboks face Argentina in a decisive rugby championship match, and this is, of course, set for Durban on Saturday. We'll be keeping an eye on that after the New Zealand win. Protea women's netball team play the third and final away test, and this is going to be against New Zealand.
In sports news in South Africa, it is rugby time again. The Springboks in action. That is after they've beaten the All Blacks quite convincingly 2 weeks ago. And now they play against Argentina. That will be in Durban. Very crucial game. All four teams in the rugby championship. It's South Africa, Argentina, the All Blacks of New Zealand and Australia, very close to each other. Any one of the four can still win. So it is New Zealand that play against Australia at home in Auckland, and South Africa play against Argentina. After this, there's one round left. So all eyes on Durban. It is 5:10, the kickoff time in Durban on Saturday. And Rassie Erasmus, the Springbok coach, did not make many changes from the team that played in Wellington in New Zealand. Just two changes because of injury. It's Eben Etzebeth that come back into lock, and it's Damian Dalenda that will play in the centre. He is in place of Damien Willemse that moved to fullback in place of the injured Apele Fasi. So that is rugby news. It's a big test coming up on Saturday. Then also netball, South African national netball team, the Proteas, they play a 3-test series in New Zealand. They've already played two of them. Lost both of them. The South African team did better in the second test in Napier. They lost 70 points to 58. So the third and final one will be played this Sunday, and that is in Invercargill, that is in New Zealand. So the South African Proteas netball team playing against the counterparts of New Zealand. So that is sport news currently in South Africa.
We certainly wish all the teams all the best. Now, finally, Arrie, Karoo National Park attracts tourists with diverse wildlife and dinosaur fossils on display.
In entertainment news in South Africa, we go to Beaufort West, and we talked earlier about Beaufort West with the wind farms that's been put up there. A great town if you drive through to Johannesburg from Cape Town and stay over for a few nights. And it is Karoo. They say it's like almost going back in time. So there's lots to see there. There's National Park, the Karoo National Park, and it is known for lots of animals. It is from Springbok to also the Cape Mountain Zebra, also Gemsbok and the Black Rhino you can see there, and also the Cape Fox that is quite endangered, and then also the Cape Eagle Owl. So lots of animals to see in the Klein Karoo National Park. And not all that's not all. You can also see Bushman paintings and engravings. That is really going back into time. And then also dinosaur fossils you can also see there. That is a part of the Karoo National Park. And there's also good rock formations. And then if you're in town, you can also go to brilliant restaurants there. Of course, they love their meat that's in the Karoo. So there's a good braaivleis and there's good meat cuts. That is all to do when you visit the Klein Karoo and you visit Beaufort West. So that is entertainment news in South Africa.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Arrie, for delivering the South Africa report. We're going to take a quick break before we return with economic news, and we will be talking about Africa's most powerful currencies and how well South Africa is doing with packaged foods.
Mornings just got better, Namibia. From the latest headlines to the hottest trends, we're bringing you the conversations that matter.
That's right. Bright minds, bold opinions, and a touch of morning magic. This is your daily dose of energy.
So grab a cup and join in on the conversation every weekday morning at 8 o'clock with Smell the Coffee, hosted by Diana Master and Aina Riza Quayo.
Let's get into the economic news. A strong national currency reflects economic resilience and helps protect against external shocks, benefiting African economies. Stable currencies reduce import costs, easing inflation and boosting purchasing power for citizens. Ghana has seen inflation fall to its lowest since October 2021 at 11.5% in August, following improved steady performance and interest rate adjustments. The Bank of Ghana lowered its benchmark rate to 21.5%, showing confidence in stability. South Africa's rand also strengthened, supported by higher foreign reserves and balanced macroeconomic policies, with the Reserve Bank maintaining rates at 7%. Strong currencies make debt servicing cheaper, freeing resources for vital sectors such as health and education. Investors view stable currencies as signals of sound management, attracting capital. According to Forbes data for September 2025, the strongest African currencies are Tunisia's dinar 2.90, Libya's dinar 5.40, Morocco's dirham 9.04, Ghana's cedi 12.31, Botswana's pula 14.15, Seychelles rupee, Eritrea's nakfa, South Africa's rand, Lesotho's loti, and Namibia's dollar, which is 17.26 to the US dollar. These rankings underscore economic strength as well as resilience across the continent. We swing back to South Africa for our last economic story and our last story of the show. South Africa has emerged as the undisputed leader in Africa's packaged food market, posting an impressive $18.5 billion in retail sales last year. This achievement is underpinned by a vertically integrated supply chain, advanced logistics, and a concentrated supermarket sector that provide efficiency, scale, and reliability. Together, these factors enable producers to meet growing consumer demand for convenience while expanding into private label and value-added products that boost competitiveness. The country's strong retail ecosystem not only supports domestic consumption but also extends across borders, positioning South Africa as a processing and export hub for SADC markets and enhancing its resilience against economic volatility. In contrast, Nigeria, Africa's most populous country, registered just $4.7 billion in packaged food sales. Its weak infrastructure, fragmented supply chains, and consumer price sensitivity continue to hold back growth in what should be a leading market. Kenya recorded $5.1 billion, reflecting gradual expansion driven by supermarket penetration and a strengthening middle class. North Africa showed stronger momentum, with Morocco reaching $11.5 billion and Egypt $11.2 billion, signaling their growing role in the sector. Globally, South Africa's $18.5 billion surpasses Thailand's $17 billion, though it trails Saudi Arabia's $25 billion, underscoring both its continental dominance and rising international profile. Let's have a look at the economic indicators before we come back to say goodbye. Thank you for staying with Africa Good Morning throughout the broadcast as we've been highlighting several stories. Of course, our top story is Malawi. Last week, we spoke about the election and Malawi going to the polls on Wednesday, and Peter Mutharika is now going to be the new president of Malawi. Keeping in mind, he's also the old president of Malawi. But what happened, as we spoke about earlier in 2020, the election was annulled. There was a runoff and Chakwera won. But this time, Mutharika got the best of his political rival. Let's have a look at the highlights from the show. Chakwera concedes defeat to Mutharika in Malawi election. African leaders demand fairer trade and economic autonomy at UN. Breakthrough HIV prevention injection to roll out at lower cost. Over 80 buffaloes drown after lion chase in Namibia. African nations with strongest currencies in September 2025 topped by Tunisia. And South Africa dominates Africa's packaged food industry with $18.5 billion in sales. Keep in mind that you can watch this and other Africa Good Morning episodes again on Echo. All you have to do is go to oneup2.com. That's ONEUP TWO.com. Click the Echo icon and you can have access to this and other NTV programs anytime, anywhere, because on Echo, primetime is anytime. This has been Africa Good Morning, broadcasting on DSTV 285, GoTV 25, 1up2.com, Network Media Hub, and NTV Africa on YouTube. From me, Ashwin Bedi, and the team, Swera Jaganaka.